Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon X and Y analysis video. Today's video is going to be all about Clawitzer, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Clawitzer is a mono water type Pokemon introduced in Generation 6 and is one of the few Pokemon exclusive to Pokemon X, whereas the previous analysis video on Dragalge is one of the Pokemon exclusive to Pokemon Y. So that is something to keep in mind in terms of availability of this Pokemon, as it is only available in that version, so you have to trade to acquire it if you do have Pokemon Y. But as for its ability, Clawitzer only has one ability, which is known as Mega Launcher, and this is an ability that is only shared by Mega Blastoise. However, Clawitzer can make fantastic use of it as well, and what this ability does is it powers up Aura and Pulse moves by 50%. And these moves include Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, and Water Pulse from an offensive point of view, and from a more support version of using this Pokemon, if you were to say use this on a doubles team or something like that, you could also give greater healing to your teammate through the use of Heal Pulse, as Heal Pulse's healing will be increased to 75% as opposed to its usual 50%. So what this ability means is that with all of these attacks, Clawitzer not only gets some really fantastic type coverage overall, but it also gives it some really good power to use with all of its attacks, as all of them will be boosted to some really impressive power and allow you to do a ton of damage to your opponent, meaning that Clawitzer is just going to be a threat in itself because of how much damage it can do with all of these attacks. But as far as its stats are concerned, Clawitzer has some pretty great defenses with base 71 HP, 88 defense, and 89 special defense. Now, more often than not, you'll probably be seeing this Pokemon used as an offensive poke, but these are some pretty good defenses for an offensive Pokemon, which is really great to know. Its HP is a little bit low, but the 88 defense and 89 special defense are actually pretty fantastic and will allow Clawitzer to take a hit or two in battle. But as far as its attacking stats are concerned, it has base 79 physical attack, which is fairly low. However, Clawitzer does have access to Swords Dance, which is something to keep in mind, even though more often than not, you're probably going to be running a special attacking set with this Pokemon, because it has a really fantastic base 120 special attack, and will also be able to make use of the Pulse moves to greater power if you are using, obviously, a special attacking set on Clawitzer. But lastly, it has only a base 59 speed, which is fairly slow. However, running a Choice Scarf set on it is very possible, as it will power up Clawitzer's speed and allow it to outspeed a ton of Pokemon and do some massive damage with that fantastic special attack stat, as well as its Mega Launcher ability that will be boosting the power of all the Pulse and Aura moves that it learns. But with that, let's just jump into the sets for this video. So for this first set in this video, it actually has two possible combinations of natures and EV spreads. So the one we're looking at right now is going to begin with a timid nature to increase its speed but lower its physical attack, or a modest nature to increase its special attack but lower its physical attack. And for the ability, we're going to be going with the Mega Launcher. As for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into its defense, 252 into its special attack, and then 252 EVs into its speed to give it its max special attack and speed possible. And as for the item, we're going to be going first with a Choice Scarf to increase our speed by 1 stage while locking us into a move, and then also have the option of choosing Choice Specs to increase our special attack while locking us into a move, a Life Orb to increase the damage of all of our attacks, and also give us the freedom to use all of our moves but having a 10% recoil every time we attack, or an Expert Belt, which will increase the damage of all of our super effective attacks against our opponent. As for the moves though, the first one that we're going to be going with is going to be our main water-type attack on the set, which is going to come in the form of Water Pulse. Now, typically, Water Pulse is a fairly weak water move, being only base 60 power, but it is increased to base 90 power through the use of the Mega Launcher ability, which means that Water Pulse is actually the strongest water-type attack that you can use, as it is on par with Surf, since Surf got a little bit of a damage reduction this generation, but Water Pulse also has the added chance of confusing your opponent, making it a little bit better than Surf in the fact that you could actually cause an effect to be occurred on your opponent. Now, unfortunately, Clawitzer does not learn Hydro Pump, so Water Pulse will have to suffice, and it does so very well, especially because of that confusion chance. But as far as the next 3 move slots are concerned, the reason why I wrote Launcher right here is because it's pretty much whatever type coverage you want with a move that is boosted by Mega Launcher. Now, Launcher obviously is not an attack. Launcher is referring to Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, and Dragon Pulse. And this can obviously be used depending on the type coverage that you want, along with using Ice Beam for some really great type coverage, and then also even U-Turn in the last move slot. Now, it depends really on what you expect Clawitzer to be up against more often than not, but if you want for sheer super effective type coverage, going with Ice Beam, Aura Sphere, and Dark Pulse is definitely the way to go, as Dragon Pulse really is not super effective against anything other than Dragon. However, if you want a strong, reliable attack that won't really be resisted by many other types, if you're using, say, a choice set and just want to lock yourself in on a move, Dragon Pulse would be the move to do that, as it is only resisted by Steel types and immune to by Fairy type Pokemon. So it's really whichever type coverage you want, or if you want just a strong, reliable attack, or if you want to throw in U-Turn for that last move slot right there to give Clawitzer some really great maneuverability around the battlefield, as you won't really have to worry so much about locking it into a move if you predict your opponent to switch, because you could just U-Turn out and predict, or in your prediction, and you turn out into something giving you switch initiative that will be able to counter whatever Pokemon your opponent switched into. So overall, this set just has a fantastic amount of options in terms of type coverage, as well as utility through U-Turn, and will definitely prove to be one of the most effective offensive sets for Clawitzer to run, as it will be doing some massive damage with all of these attacks because of its fantastic special attack stat and Mega Launcher ability. However, I did say that there was an alternative EV spread and nature combination. So the one we're going to flip over to right now is going to start with a modest nature to increase your special attack and lower your physical attack. And for the EVs, we're going to put 232 into your HP, 252 into your special attack, and then the remainder 24 EVs into your speed to give you a more bulky move spread to allow Clawitzer to take hits a lot better while dishing out damage. Now this does make it significantly slower, so we aren't going to be using a Choice Scarf as one of the items on the set, but instead also add the option of running Leftovers to allow you to increase your recovery at the end of every turn by a little bit. So overall, this is just a more tankier defensive version of the previous set that can function just as well. It's a little bit slower, but can take attacks a lot better. So keep that in mind when using this Pokemon. Up next, I have more of a defensive-offensive set for you to run with your Clawitzer. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a bold nature to increase its defense while lowering its physical attack. And for the ability, we're going to be going with the Mega Launcher. As for the EVs, we're going to put 232 into its HP to almost max that out, 252 EVs into its physical defense to max that out, and then the remainder 24 EVs into its speed to give it enough speed to outspeed base 60 Pokemon that it falls just short of outspeeding because of its base 59 speed. And for the item, we are going to be going with an Assault Vest on the set to boost Clawitzer's special defense by one stage, but force us to only use attacking moves. However, Clawitzer does not really have a great support move pool, so we're really not losing out anything with this set, or losing out on anything with the set, but we are gaining a significant amount of defense in both your physical and special side, which will allow Clawitzer to take attacks extremely well, while also dishing out massive amounts of damage due to its really high special attack, and also Mega Launcher ability, boosting the damage of many of its attacks. But for the first move on this set, we're going to be going with Scald, which is going to be our main water type attack on this set over Water Pulse, even though Water Pulse is only 10 base power stronger, so we're really not losing that much damage, but we are gaining a 30% chance to burn with our water type stab, which is very important since this is a more defensive set, so burning our opponents, specifically physical attackers, will come in handy for allowing this Clawitzer to take hits extremely well from the physical side. Also, it will obviously be taking special hits very well because of the Assault Vest. And just for numbers purposes, if you are curious, at around level 100, this Pokemon will have over 300 defense and special defense with the Assault Vest. So that is something to keep in mind just to show you how bulky this Pokemon can be. But for the other attacks on this set, we are again going to be choosing between Ice Beam and Dragon Pulse, depending on whether you want more type coverage in the form of Ice Beam, obviously being able to hit grass types super effectively, which you are weak against, or Dragon Pulse as a more reliable attack, also be boosted by the Mega Launcher ability and only resisted by Steel types and Fairy types, which actually have an immunity to Dragon moves. So it's really whichever one you feel the need to go with on this set. Obviously, Dragon Pulse isn't fantastic for super effective type coverage, though, as I've said. So going with Ice Beam will net you some more super effective hits if that's what you're going for. But for the last two move slots, we're again going to be making use of Dark Pulse and Aura Sphere to round off all of your Mega Launcher boosted moves and give you some really fantastic type coverage on this set. So overall, this is a more defensive version of the previous set that you saw. It's able to take physical and special attacks really well, and also still be able to dish out quite a bit of damage because of its fantastic special attack stat and the access to the Mega Launcher ability. Now, because this is a defensive set that is not using leftovers, I think it is important to note that you should be using this Pokemon alongside a Wish user to allow it to keep its HP up throughout battle, maybe even a Heal Bell or Aromatherapy user to allow it to heal off any statuses that it may have acquired. So that is something to keep in mind when using the set, but overall it'll be a fantastic bulky Pokemon that will be able to dish out a lot of damage to your opponents. And for this last moveset, we are going to be running a physical attacking set for Clawitzer. So we're going to start this one off by going with an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack. And for the ability, we're going to be going with the Mega Launcher, even though it really doesn't do anything for the set, but it's the only ability that Clawitzer gets. As for the EVs, we're going to put 232 into its HP, 252 into its physical attack, and then the remainder 24 EVs into its speed to give it its max physical attack possible, as well as some really great HP bulk and enough speed to outspeed Pokemon of base 60 speed. And as for the item, we're going to be either going with a Life Orb to increase the damage of all of your attacks, or Leftovers to allow you to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves, the first one that we're going to be going with on the set, and probably the most important one in terms of allowing this particular Clawitzer to do damage, is going to be Swords Dance, which will be boosting your physical attack by 2 stages every time you go for it. Now, you may have multiple opportunities to go for Swords Dance due to some natural bulk that Clawitzer possesses, but more often than not, you're probably just going to get one, which will, in most cases, suffice for allowing this Pokemon to do some really fantastic physical damage. Now, it is important to keep in mind how necessary this is, as you saw from the first slide in this video, which showed that its physical attack is significantly weaker than its special attack. But with its physical attacking moves, the first one that we're going to be going with is going to be Aqua Jet, which is going to be a fantastic water type move for you to use, as it will not only allow Clawitzer to effectively revenge kill many Pokemon, but also give it some priority that will allow it to attack before most other Pokemon are able to attack, which is essential for this Pokemon due to its low speed. Now, this is a fairly weak move, being only base 60 power, taking into account stab. Obviously, it's normally base 40, but because of the stab boost, it is base 60. So it will be not doing that much damage in terms of just an offensive move to go for, but it's still very powerful for revenge killing purposes, and very great for this Pokemon as well if you are especially able to get up multiple Swords Dances, as then you will be able to just do a ton of damage to everything while outspeeding everything because of its priority. But along with Aqua Jet, we're going to be running Rock Slide as a really great type coverage move for this Pokemon to run. It'll give you the ability to hit Bug type and Flying type Pokemon for super effective damage, as well as also giving you some extra coverage against Fire types that Aqua Jet is also providing, so there's a little bit of overlap there, but it's still really good, specifically maybe for like a Flying Fire type or something like that, where Rock Slide would obviously be able to hit it for some more damage than Aqua Jet would. And then for the last moveset, we could either go with X Scissor to give us even more super effective type coverage, specifically against grass types that we are weak to, but also to dark type and psychic type Pokemon. Or if you just want to run Dual Stab on this set, you can go with Crab Hammer as a stronger water type alternative attacking move that is significantly stronger than Aqua Jet, but does lack the priority. Now, one thing to keep in mind about a physical set with Clawitzer is that it will not have as great type coverage as a special attacking set. However, you are capable of doing more damage overall because you're able to boost this stat as opposed to your special attack. But this leads me to believe that even though this set is a pure physical attacking set, there is definitely room to run a mixed attacking set on Clawitzer in the future that will definitely come in handy and allow it to deal with a number of threats in whatever tier this Pokemon is placed in. So there will probably be some potential for that in the future, but as of right now, since the games are very new and we really don't know what is the biggest Clawitzer counter or what other threats Clawitzer is going to be facing in whatever tier it's placed in, we can't really say what we're going to be doing for that for that type of set just yet, but keep that in mind for a future Clawitzer video if I may make one after the metagame has developed a little bit. But anyways, that is it for this video, everybody, so I wanted to thank you all for watching. Feel free to follow me on Twitch and on Twitter, and also bookmark the database in the description that will have all of these sets, as well as all the other sets that I've done in the analysis series. And I'm actually surprised as to how many people don't actually know this exists, even though I mention it at the end of every video, when people are like, hey, you should do a video on Carbink or something, and I'm like, hey, go check out the database, because this will have all the Carbink sets that I'm going to be showing off in my Carbink video, and they're like, what is that? And and I'm like, it's the thing I mention in the end of every video, so you should check that out. So yeah, that conversation has happened a few times. But also feel free to join the Zat at zat.com/pokegrounds, where you'll have an easy opportunity to chat with other people about Pokemon, trade and battle, and do all sorts of Pokemon related stuff. But thank you all for watching, everybody, and as always, take care, goodbye, I will see you all next time.